This is openSUSE Tumbleweed with the KDE Plasma 5.10 desktop. I downloaded this a few days after the 5.10 desktop was released, and it was available almost immediately in Tumbleweed. Note that I also have Linux kernel version 4.11, which is also state-of-the-art. One of the features of Plasma 5.10 is that it comes with folder view on the desktop by default. I got rid of it because I like a plain desktop. But they say they provided a folder view by default because of popular demand. If I want to get it back, it's quite easy. I right-click on the desktop, go down here to Configure Desktop, and up here where it says Layout, I left-click and go to Folder View. Then I go to Apply. Now when I close this, there's the folder view. Notice that I also was able to put a file on the desktop. If I want to get rid of this to show you how I did it again, I can just move it to the trash, and I want to now here's something interesting. It doesn't quite work very well. This Documents folder doesn't show anything in it. However, when I go to the Dolphin File Manager and open the Documents folder, there's my test document. So I can just drag and drop this onto the desktop. It says move here or copy here. I'm just going to copy it here. And it remains in the Documents folder. And there's my document. I can open it. However, when I go into this Documents folder, it still doesn't show up. So there's a little glitch in this folder view. There's a few glitches, not too many that I've found so far in 5.10, but since I found them, I might as well point them out. If we go down in here to the menu, and go to this icon, it says Configure Desktop. That is not the Configure Desktop icon. It's the System Settings icon. The Configure Desktop icon is this one, which you get by right-clicking on the background. You see, that's completely different. So that's just a case of something mislabeled. Not too serious once you're aware of the problem. Now on this desktop, I also got rid of the little toolbox. If I click on Tweaks and then left click on Show the Desktop Toolbox and then Apply, the toolbox has appeared up here in the upper left hand corner. But that's a very bad place for it because I also have a hot corner up there. In any case, if you're very careful, you can click on the toolbox and you get some of the same functions you'd get by clicking on the desktop itself. So you really don't need this. I got rid of it easily enough. tweaking it and unclicking it. Now it's gone again. By the way, this was the default background that came with openSUSE Tumbleweed. Now there are other backgrounds, of course, but only two come with this system. This one is the Tumbleweed background, and this one is the default Plasma 5.10 background. So if you prefer that one, you can get it. But now I'm going to restore the settings that I had in here. Desktop view, apply. There it is, the way I had it. Now I had no trouble connecting to my Wi-Fi network with one problem. As you can see, it's connected. The problem I had is that the hated KDE Wallet kept popping up. Some recent distributions have disabled or suppressed the KDE Wallet to some extent so that you can get into your Wi-Fi network and you can log into your system without repeating your password 1,000 times to the KDE Wallet. However, this is not one of those distributions, so I had to disable it, and this is how I did it. I went to System Settings and Account Details, and as you can see under KDE Wallet Configuration, I unchecked the box that says Enable the KDE Wallet Subsystem. Now to get this to take effect, you have to restart, which I did, and it worked perfectly. I no longer have to worry about KDE Wallet at all. However, when I do log into the system, I have to re-enter the encryption code to my Wi-Fi network each time, which is still a little bit of a nuisance, but it's not as much of a nuisance as the KDE Wallet. Now, another thing I did, it came with 2 workspaces by default, and I added 2 more, so I have 4 workspaces. And I added hot corners, so if I hover over the upper left corner, it shows the minimized application on this particular desktop, which is desktop number 1. And if I hover over it again, it disappears. And if I go to this hot corner, I get the desktop grid showing all 4 workspaces. In this case, I only have something in one workspace. However, if I want to drag this over to a different workspace, I can do it. Now it's in workspace number 2. You may also notice that I'm using the Breeze Dark theme. If I go back to System Settings and Appearances, there it is, Breeze Dark under Look and Feel. It came with the openSUSE theme. So I'll try that just to show you what it's like. That's under Look and Feel, and under Desktop Theme, it came with openSUSE. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to switch it back. Now you may notice that it came with the application menu, my favorite one by default. And this is a cascading menu with a search bar at the bottom. You also have the option of alternatives, as with every other recent KDE implementation, the application launcher and the application dashboard, but I've gone into that before. I'm not going to go into it here. Just to briefly go over what it came with. Under development, comes with translation and Qt 5 linguist, Qt 5 assistant, Qt 5 dbus viewer, and Qt 5 designer. Under education, subcategory science, it comes with KDE Marble, which is a mapping application. Comes with a few games here, Mahjong, etc., card games, logic games, Sudoku. Under graphics, it came with GIMP. Under internet, of course, it came with Firefox. Under multimedia, it came with Amarok, etc. I installed the Simple Screen Recorder and the VLC Media Player from the openSUSE repositories. Under Office, it came with the complete LibreOffice suite, as well as some of the KDE applications like Kmail, Kaddressbook, etc. Now here's another misnomer under Settings. What it calls Configure Desktop here is, as I said before, System Settings, not Configure Desktop. Now under System, it has the famous YAST utility here, which includes a software manager. Also, you can go to the same one by going up here to Install Remove Software. Now, it did not come with Discover, which is the KDE graphical software manager. But I downloaded Discover just to see if it would work. And it does sort of halfway work with this implementation. If I look under Applications, there they are. It has things I normally wouldn't use with KDE, like the GNOME Tweak tool, but there are the applications. Accessories, there's a GNOME Tweak tool again. Now this has a scroll bar, but you don't see it. It appears when you go anywhere along the right edge here and start scrolling down. You don't have to hit the little button. The button will go to your cursor. But it takes a while to discover this because the scroll bar is not immediately apparent. But it's kind of nice that the button will go to your cursor so you don't have to find it. Anyway, enough of Discover. It does work. I actually updated the system once using Discover. Just to go over a few more things that are new to Plasma 5.10. The task manager at the bottom will allow you to group applications using the middle mouse button. I don't have a mouse and I don't have a middle mouse button, and I don't particularly want to group applications anyway, but presumably you can do that. If you use a lock screen, you can still play media while the screen is locked. I hate the lock screen and I disabled it. If you use it, you can play songs. However, let me warn you, don't use the lock screen if at all possible. I tried it and I couldn't get back in, even though I used my password, my correct password, for 10 or 15 minutes. I couldn't get back into the system. I had to shut it down and restart it twice in order to get back into the system at all. So let me show you how to disable the lock screen altogether. You go back to System Settings here, and you go to Desktop Behavior, and down here to Screen Locking. And you can see I have this lock screen automatically unchecked. By default, it was checked, and it was set to lock at 5 minutes. Doesn't matter the time that's shown in here, as long as it's unchecked, it won't lock automatically. Now there are a few other things. I'm not going to mention them all. If I go over here to this little icon, I can then move my panel around, as I have been able to do with earlier versions of Plasma 5. I'm going to move it around here to the left. And make it quite wide. Now it used to be when you would make it wide, these little icons grew to enormous size. And it was just grotesque. So they've changed that so the icons remain at a preset size. I'm going to move this back. Another feature is in the little audio volume applet here. You get a lot more settings than you used to get. So you don't have to separately go into Pulse Audio volume control. For instance, I'm able to set my speakers to the Yeti stereo microphone output and set my input to the Yeti stereo microphone analog stereo, which I never used to be able to do from this simple applet. There are some hidden icons here. If you want to show them, you can see them. And of course, one is that my simple screen recorder is running. I don't want to change that. Now, there's also improved touchscreen support, but since I don't have a touchscreen, I can't demonstrate that. And they're working on implementing the Wayland display server, but they're not quite there yet. They also have experimental support for forthcoming new bundle package formats. And the Discover Software Center has also gained provisional backends for Flatpak and Snappy. I haven't tried those yet. So that's the Plasma 5.10 desktop, brought to you on openSUSE Tumbleweed. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.